This is actually a very interesting thing for me because most of the companies we deal with, as you've seen, are small listed companies. And there's a lot of questions about how they get listed, whether they should be listed. And given the lack of resources that are still around after 2008 and 9, and that whole machine that raised all the equity that listed a lot of them, and a lot of the mechanisms that actually Seth Brookman alluded to earlier of how they get public and listed, the question is there still a place in this world for these kinds of companies? So we've assembled, I think, quite an interesting group of people here because they fall on all sides of this question. I think when you listen to John Kirkland talk, I think, because they're a direct investor in a lot of these small companies as well, I think you're going to find that there's a tiering going on here of where you can actually raise capital, and that if you want to eventually be a listed company, you really take some intermediary steps to build up your internal governance, your reporting capabilities, your regulatory, your business, your capital, your business plan, et cetera. And I think that's why we saved you for last, John. So.
I guess I'm the responsible opposing viewpoint. We love small micro-cap public companies. It's our business. So Ironridge Global has done maybe 50 transactions in the last 2 years, ranging from $250,000 to $20 million a piece, all of them for small cap and micro cap public companies. Typically common stock only, sometimes preferred stock or common and warrants, but always straight equity. And in listening to the people up on the panel today, it's interesting to see the different perspectives, but in doing this for over 2 decades, I'm amazed at how many times people predict the death of microcaps, and I think the rumors of its demise are greatly exaggerated. It reminds me of the line from the Jurassic Park movie, Life Finds a Way. Aggressive management teams of small public companies are always going to find a way to find the money, and investors are always going to find a way to invest. And I think what you need to realize fundamentally about the small cap and micro cap market in the United States is that it's really fundamentally different than the stock market as a whole. Somebody with a $10 million market cap in a development stage has nothing in common with Google or General Motors. Maybe more so General Motors these days. But a lot of the companies that are now big and successful started out little. Virtually all of them started out little in some form, and some of them started out little on the public markets. Trivial little companies like Nike and Costco were microcaps. And big, giant, centuries-old successful companies like Kodak became microcaps. So the segment, by definition, is always going to exist because the little up-and-comers are always going to be there, and the big ones who fall back are always going to be there. And the regulatory environment in the US is really just struggling with that reality. The SEC just doesn't know how to deal with it. For example, it is absolutely illegal in the United States to have anybody refer you a money source unless they're a licensed broker-dealer. Has anybody in this room ever used a finder? Has anybody ever driven over 55 miles an hour on the freeway? There are certain realities in the market, and the SEC realizes and is simply unable to deal with it, and so struggles every day to figure out how to get its arms around the market. So you've got a little bit of a wild, wild west scenario, and we see every day companies who were taken for a ride by people who made them a lot of promises and didn't deliver. And it's very hard to figure out who's who and what's what and what it is you should do. And there's a very, very steep learning curve for small companies, and some of them simply don't survive that. Put aside the fundamentals of actually running a business, making a widget. The thing about the microcap reality is it's an institution that has its own separate set of challenges beyond just running your business. And we always tell people, take our money, put it to good use, grow the business, and the stock will take care of itself. But I think fundamentally, the microcap market is definitely here to stay, and I think there are some tremendous growth opportunities in the market. I think there's a lot of money that wants to get into the microcap market, and there's a lot of people in the market who need the money. So those deals are going to happen.